Hello all. Let's welcome back to this another session of JavaScript. So in this session, we're going to see the respective things. Let me share my screen. Yep. So in the previous session, we have seen about the interaction, the different concepts in JavaScript, specifically the interaction part. We have seen three different alternatives and three different prompts or three different functions that we have used that will be used in JavaScript for user interactiveness altogether. And we have seen how does this type conversion actually works. And we have also seen the basic operators, like how does the operator actually do, unary operator, binary operator, how do they actually do, how do we can convert this respective data of one type to another type. We have seen all of this given particular thing. So in this current session, we're going to see some extra information about basic operators, because we have seen how can we convert using this generators, like constructors, not generators exactly, constructors like string and number. But in this session, let's try to delve deep into this formatting of how does basic operators helps us in type conversion, and let's try to understand what is meant by precedence, what is a comma operator, which is a special operator in JavaScript, and also we'll see about comparison operators. We'll see the Unicode operators. We'll see what is the comparison between null and undefined. We'll see what is meant by conditional branching, and we also end up learning this entire session or wrapping this entire session by learning this one single concept known as logical operators. So coming to this one single session, this session is going to be a bit longer than the usual session because we need to cover some extra. We are going to go ahead with some extra things that we want to learn. So please stay with this respective session. You're going to learn a lot of things. So now let's go ahead and let's try to implement the things. So previously we are still at this respective point. Yeah, we are still at this respective point where we are actually converting this respective types. Now coming back to this one thing, we are in the file of typeconversions.js. Now, let me do this one thing. Let's try to understand this one single concept of numeric conversions. Numeric conversion using unary plus. Unary plus. So we have seen a numeric conversion altogether in our previous session. Sorry, we have seen a numeric conversion using constructors. Like whenever we have something like, let me do this. Let me give a simple example. I'll say let um, value is equal to, okay, value is there. Let val is equal to, I have this one thing known as a 1 2 3 4. Now if I want to convert this string formatted 1 2 3 4 into a number, I'll say let converted val is equal to, I use a simple thing known as a constructor. These are known as constructors, and I'll simply mention val, and that's it. And that's it. But instead of, let's say, whenever you're having a string, whenever you're having a string, and in that string you have only numbers, then at that point of time, using unary plus also, instead of using this entire number, we can use unary plus to convert this respective thing into an into a number data altogether. So for example, instead of using like this, let me comment this one single line. Let me comment this one single line, and let me say let converted val is equal to uh right, converted val is equal to unary plus. What is meant by unary plus? Because it is only having one operand. I'll simply mention val. Now, if I ever try to console log what exactly is present in the val, and if I also want to console log what is the type of data that is present in the val, I'll be using these respective statements, and I'll go here. So I'll say node type conversions dot is. Now, one very important thing. Oh, sorry, it's not val. It is converted val. Right. Sorry, my bad. Now it's not val. It's converted val. Right. So initially we have something, a string which consists of all numbers into a given particular variable. Here we have converted. Here the number or numeric conversion actually happened. Let me write a comment. Numeric conversion that had happened in this 99th line using unary plus. What is meant by unary plus? Having only one operand for sorry, operand for a plus operator, for a plus operator. That is what meant by unary. If you can clearly observe here, for this plus symbol, we have only one operand. We have only one operand. Instead of having this um, brackets, you can also mention it like this. You can also mention it like this. Both are correct. Both are correct. So in this given particular scenario here, using this unary plus, we are converting our respective string data into numeric data and storing it into separate variable. So here this plus val will convert this entire string formatted 1234 into number 1234, and that converted result will be stored inside this converted val. Set. Let me rerun the code. Now you can clearly see the output that you are seeing. The first console log, it is telling that this converted val variable is storing something, a data known as 1234, and the type of this given particular variable, the data type that this given particular variable is storing is of number, is of number. So this is how this entire numeric conversion would be. Similarly, you can do this numeric conversion or this unary plus. Using this unary plus, you can do numeric conversions for a lot of things. If I say something like let uh, bool val is equal to something like true. If I say something like this, and if I say let new bool val is equal to plus of, I'll say bool val. So here numeric conversion is actually happening. Numeric conversion is actually happening using unary plus. So if I simply say console.log, I'll simply say new bool value, and I'll say what is the type of data, not asset. What is the type of data does this given particular thing? New bool value. So here we are converting this boolean value into numeric value, and we are storing inside a variable known as this. And we want to see what is the value that is storing inside this new variable and what type of data that is this being stored inside this variable. So okay, let uh, me rerun the code. I have commented the above two console logs, which are not that necessary for us. Yeah, I can clearly see this first console log is giving the output of 1, because whenever you try to convert this boolean value true to number data type, you will get the value as 1. Similarly, that happens that what is the data type that is being stored inside this variable? It is a number. So this is how we actually are using, or we actually are going ahead in order to have this numeric conversions altogether. You can do this numeric conversions with different lot of examples altogether. Instead of this bool value, you can still go with other values like, sorry, a minute. Uh, sorry. Uh, Similarly, you can have, sorry. Your Siri is getting activated. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Let me fix my system. I'll be back in a minute. Yeah, I'm back with this thing. I've fixed my issue with with my computer. Let's try it out with how can we convert a basic string into a number. So for that, I'll say string val. I'll keep it as an empty string. So whenever we have already seen, whenever we actually try to do this one very important thing, if we have an empty string without a space, it's just an empty string. You'll see two double quotes, or it can be a two single quotes also. Either is fine. Now if I'll say let new string val, if I say plus str val, now I'll console.log new str value, and I'll simply console.log type of yet. Let me rerun the code. Yeah, I can clearly see here we have a empty string. When we want to try to convert this empty string using unary plus to number, we know the result is actually 0. That's why you got the first console log. That's why you got the first console log value as result as 0. Sorry. And if you can clearly observe, we have the type, what is the data type that we are storing inside this new variable? It is showing us the number. So this is how that we actually helps us, or we actually do this given particular thing here. That we actually do this given particular thing here. This is about the numeric conversion using the respective, I can say, yeah, with the respective unary plus altogether. Now let's take this simple example. I'll say let apples is something like 2, uh, and I'll say let oranges is something like 3. Between for creating a string, I can use single quote or double quote. Either is fine, or even I can use backticks also. Either is fine. You can use in any which one you want. So if I say console log apples plus, sorry, not equals to, that's plus oranges, apples plus oranges altogether. Now let's rerun the code. Let's see what will be the output for this code. Here we have two strings. Here we have two strings. What will be the output? Now if you can clearly see, here we have this respective thing known as string concatenation. Here we have this respective string concatenation actually happened. But in one of the interviews I have appeared, they have asked me the question in this format. They have clearly mentioned this. Now here, this here numeric conversion is actually happening. Here numeric conversion is actually happening. Now in this case, if I run the code, instead of having 2, 3 presented as strings, numbers will be there because numeric conversions are actually happening here first, and then addition for these two numbers will be going ahead. So the result would be 5. Let's check it out. Yes, I can clearly see we have the result as the respective thing known as 5 altogether. So this is how we actually use this respective plus. Specifically from the mathematical standpoint of view, the abundance of this plus in specific to this respective language JavaScript maybe seem as strange, but from programmer's standpoint of view, what I can say is there's nothing special because unary places are applied first. They converted the numbers to the strings and then the binary place. So here first numeric conversion actually happens for both, and then this place will be activated. This place will be activated. So you might be asking why this case? Because if you have the same thing, if I say console.log, let me write the same thing. Apples plus oranges. If I have like this, the output for this would be something known as 5, but the output for this would be known as 23. Here 5 is a number, but here 23 is a string. So why here in the above line, specifically in this 115 line, we have this code where first numeric plus is actually happening. Numeric plus is actually being executed, to be more precise first. Then this binary plus will be executed. But in the below case, we have only one single operator, plus operator, binary operator. This will be executed first. Why this unary plus have this greater importance than this binary plus? Then only we need to understand this concept known as precedence. As I can clearly say, unary plus, this is a very important point. Unary plus is unary plus is having high precedence than binary plus. Binary plus. So what is meant by this respective thing known as precedence? I'll come to this given particular point in a few minutes. So let me take few examples. Let me comment this thing. Yeah, let me comment it. So all these examples that I'm trying it out, I'll push this entire code into the GitHub. So you can also refer to the GitHub link and you can get how this entire thing is actually, you can try it out. You can try it out. So let's try to go to the concept known as precedence, or to be more precise, it is a operator precedence. Operator precedence. So to understand these examples, why unary plus is very important than binary plus according to JavaScript, we need to understand this given particular concept known as operator precedence altogether. Now, what is meant by this operator precedence? Let me have this standard definition that I have. I can say that if an expression has more than one operator, one operator, The execution order, is defined by their precedence. Or I can say in other words, uh, I can say the default priority order, priority order of operators. So this is what meant by precedence. Precedence means the priority. Let's say in a given particular expression. So what is meant by an expression? Because in the definition we have clearly mentioned if an expression has more than one operator. Let's say if we have something like 2 plus 3 multiplied by 4 plus let's say it's of 100 divided by 50, where in turn this itself is multiplied by 3. Instead of having this uh, things, right? Now let's say we have this given particular entire single line. This thing is actually known as expression, a mathematical expression. When you have this kind of a mathematical expressions, how does the computer or JavaScript language will execute? It needs to follow some kind of a thing known as a board mass rule. If you want to know what is meant by board mass rule, you just go ahead, search in the Google. I think you've already remembered this given particular board mass rule because we have studied this since we are in fifth standard, or at least first standard, not fifth standard, first standard. So if you want to understand about this board mass rule, just ask GPT or try to read it from the Google. You'll just simply get the things. So in which order we need to do the execution for this expression? So what is meant by executing the order? Should I first add 2 and 3, then I'll multiply with 4? Or should I do this 3 into 4 first and then add the respective result with 2? Or shall I do this division first and multiply it with 3 and then do this given particular multiplication and then add all of these three things together? So the execution, which one should I do the first? Which one should I go with first? Shall I go with this multiplication part? Shall I go with this respective division part? How shall I proceed this given particular expression to be solved? So this given kind of an expression, where in this respective expression we have multiple operators, because we have binary plus, we have multiplication, we have this respective division, we have this multiplication. So we have more than one operator. So the execution order, where we have to do, either we have to go with 2 plus 3 first, or we have to go with 3 into 4, or we have to do this division first and then do the later on the other parts. That execution order is actually defined by the thing known as a precedence. So precedence is simply, to be more precise, precedence is nothing but a priority order. This simply is known as priority order for us. Now, what is respect to this given particular thing known as priority order? How does this priority order is it actually being defined? We'll come to that point in a few minutes. So now coming back to this given particular thing, let me go ahead. This thing. So we have a table known as, let me write it. We have a table known as precedence table. So in this table, we have two important things, specifically, two important things. One is the precedence, which is nothing but the precedence or priority. We can use this thing. Other important column we'll be having is name or sign. Now let's understand how can we let's see how can we understand this entire table altogether. So if a sign has high precedence value, then JS interpreter will be taking that sign as high priority. Otherwise, like if a sign has low value of precedence, then JS interpreter will not care about it much. So the table would look like this. Let me copy paste, or let me show this respective table. the precedence table js. So instead of just going ahead and showing this thing, and one other important thing I just want to mention here for all of you is, whenever you have any kind of an issues with the front end, specifically the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript part, if you have a basic, or if you have a lot of doubts, if you want to read in depth, you want to understand completely from top end to end, I suggest you to visit this given particular website known as MDN Web Docs. It's a Bible for front end development. Just go to it. If you want to go deeper into the tech stack of front end. So let me open this operator precedence. Let me go to this thing. I think this thing. Yes. Now operator precedence is. I think this is a bit large table. Now if you can clearly observe, there is this given particular operator known as comma. This is the comma, and it has the precedence value as 1, and it has the precedence value as 1. So this, let's say when I in a given particular expression, you see anything of comma like this. On the right hand side, we have something known as x comma y. So this would be given as low priority while executing. Similarly, we have this respective different signs, respective things, or let me show you this one thing. Till now, we haven't seen different operators, but we come to that point in the same session. But let's go ahead and understand what are the different kind of things. Like, see, you can clearly see here additive operators, which is nothing but here x plus y and x minus y. So on a simpler level, if I want to explain it, we have operators like additive operators, where under this we have plus, we have minus. That is what meant by additive operator altogether. Similarly, we have something known as, let me open it. Yeah, we have something known as multiplicative operators. So we have something like multiplicative operators, like the multiplication part and the division part. Both are known as multiplicative operators. And apart from this multiplicative, we have also another thing. Let me give me a minute. Yeah, sorry, I missed this thing. Multiplication, division, and we have seen this percentage. And we have exponentiation operator. We have something like minus, sorry, not minus. We have this something known as double star. So till now we have seen about these respective plus, minus, multiplication, division, the remainder part, and the exponential part. We have seen all of these 4. But if you can clearly refer to the same table, additive operators have the precedence value as 11. Multiplicative operators have 12. Exponential operator have the precedence value as 13. So let's go to this. Let's number this. Additive operators are having something like 11. This multiplicative operators are having something like 12. The exponential operator is having the value of 13. So if you can clearly observe, exponential operator has highest precedence compared to other two. So in a given particular example, let's say if you have a mathematical expression like 2 double star 2 plus 100 divided by 50 into 3 into 3. Now in this case, how does the JavaScript should go to execute these respective things? In which order should this expression should be executed? Shall we go with first division and then multiplication and then the exponentiation? So here comes to the part of the operator precedence. Now you can clearly observe, as this exponentiation operator has highest precedence, so JavaScript will first execute this part, will first execute this thing. This is the first part. The first execution. This is the first execution. Now coming back to this respective thing, here after this first thing had happened, now coming back to this thing, we have this plus, we have this division operator, we have this multiplication operator. Now, if you can clearly observe, compare it to this additive operator, which is nothing but plus, division operator and this multiplication operator have higher precedence. You can clearly see additive operators have the precedence value as 11, but multiplicative operators have precedence value as 12. So JavaScript will go ahead with this highest precedent values. Now, second thing is it will try to figure out these things. It will try to figure out these things. It will try to figure out these respective things altogether. So give me a minute. I'm having a small issue with the system. Yeah, let's come back to this thing. Yes, now if you can clearly observe in this respective thing, JavaScript should tackle which one to be executed first. Should it go with this division part or should it go with this multiplication part? Now comes to this interesting observation. Now, as you can clearly see, as this exponential has highest precedence, so JavaScript will first execute this thing. So this will be converted as 4. This will be converted as 4 plus. Now here we have this 3 operators plus division and this multiplication. Among these 3 things, the division and multiplication have highest precedence. So the JavaScript will leave this plus to the last part. It will now should decide whether it should go with the division or it should go with the multiplication, because if you can clearly observe, both multiplication and division have same precedence value 12. Same precedence value 12. Now, which one should be executed first? It should go with 15 to 3, then that should be divided with the 100, or it should do the division first and go with the multiplication. To enable that thing, we have this one single thing known as an associativity. We have this one single thing known as an associativity. In the respective table, we have this one single thing known as associativity. What is meant by this thing? So this associativity will helps us. Let me scroll it down a bit. Yeah. Will gives us a given particular thing known as left to right. Will give something known as a direction. This associativity column will always give us some details about in which direction the execute should be there. Which means, let's say for example, here we have the precedence value 12 for all of these things, for all of these different operators, the multiplication, division and remainder, the precedence value is 12 according to the standard table. Now, what if in an expression, if we have multiplication, division and remainder present? Now, how should we evaluate? How should JavaScript will evaluate? That will be completely dependent on this associativity. So according to this respective table, for multiplicative operators, if both 3 or 2 are present inside in a single expression, then we should go with left to right execution, which is nothing but then JavaScript will go with left to right execution altogether. So in this respective case, first this division will actually happen. So it would be something known as 100 by 50, it would be 2. Then we have this remaining thing which is known as star 3. So this above entire expression, based upon the operator precedence, we are going to this thing. First, this has been executed. Let me mention it. Second, this has been executed. Now comes to this step 2. Now coming back to this thing, we have 2 operators, plus and multiplication altogether. Now, which one should be executed? Plus or this given particular, the multiplication? As we can clearly see, additive operators, which is nothing but plus and minus, have the precedence value as 11. But this multiplicative operators, this star or this multiplication symbol has higher precedence, which is known as the precedence value is 12. So as we have already seen, highest precedence means the priority will be going to that thing. So here we'll be going to this thing. So we'll be saying 4 plus 2, 3, 6. And we'll go down and we have the value as 10. We have the respective value as 10. Right? Now let's go ahead and execute the same thing. And let's see whether this entire expression result is 10 or something else. Let's go ahead and let's go to the VS Code. Let me go back to VS Code. Right. And I'll say simply, I'll mention a console log and I'll say 2 double star 2 plus 100 divided by 50 multiplied by 3. Now what will be the result? Let's go ahead and let's implement it. Now you can clearly see the entire expression output is 10. So this entire table, where you have this entire table of this precedence thing, based on this precedence thing, like we have different operators which we are going to discuss in the same session. We'll see how these different operators will be playing when we have them included into a complex expression. How does JavaScript machine will decide which one to be executed first? This is completely depend upon this one thing, precedence and associativity. We have this entire table. Go to this respective, you need not to remember all of these precedent numbers and things. You just go open to the Google and go to this respective website and understand how these entire things have been, how these entire different operators are actually having these operators and the associated values linked with each other. That would be sufficient. No need to remember all of these things, but remember basic things like remember values for exponentiation, remember value for this multiplicative, additive, and relational operators. The equality operator is nothing but equal to. The equal to is known as equality operator, and these would be sufficient. This assignment operators, this is also very important, and the comma operator. Basic level remembering all of these things would be sufficient for a given particular interview altogether. So let me close this off. Now, yeah. Now coming back to this respective thing, let's see. We have, I think we are done with this respective thing known as an operator precedence. Yeah, we are done with the operator precedence part. Now let's go ahead and understand a new operator. This very simple new operator, which is known as I'll say assignment operator. Assign operator. So what is meant by this assignment operator? You clearly understood what is meant by additive operator. Additive operator is nothing but plus. Subtractive operator is minus. Or in JavaScript, additive operators are plus and minus. Multiplication operators are multiplication, division, and the remainder modulo. Similarly, we have this thing known as an assignment order, which is known as equal to. That is actually known as equal to. The value is actually known as equal to thing altogether for us. Now, let's go ahead and see how does this assignment operator will actually being work. So in only JavaScript, we have a assignment operator specifically known as equal to, but in any other programming language, you don't see this equal to as separate operator. We'll simply use equal to for our use case, but we don't consider it as an operator in other programming languages, but it is not the case with JavaScript altogether. So um, I think let me take this interesting case of um, what I can do. Let's take this interesting case on how does this thing actually work? How does this assignment operator actually work? So one very important note I just want to give is all operators, all operators in JS, in JS return a value, which is nothing but, let's say if you have plus, if you have 2 plus 3, this operator will return the value of 6. If something known as 2 multiplied by 3, it still will generate an operator of this thing, the result of 6. Similarly, if I have 2 minus 3, the result would be something known as minus 1. So based upon the operator, we'll get respect to outputs. So all operators in JavaScript return some kind of a result, return some kind of a value altogether. But coming back to this one simple thing, sorry, yeah, coming back to this respective thing, we have this thing known as an assignment operator where, sorry, operator will also return a value, will also return a value. So if I say some x is equal to some value, some like x equal to something known as 1 2 3 or some string or some other thing, what exactly happens here is the value will be I can say written, I can say yes, into variable known as x, and then returns it, and then returns it, then returns it. So you'll simply say x is equal to value, some x equal to something known as value. Let me write it as like this, 23. Now number 23 will be written into the variable x into, and then it will be returned, and it would be returned. Similarly, I can simply say like a is equal to b plus 1. A is equal to b plus 1. So whatever we have in the RHS, the right hand side, will be computed and will be stored and will be written into this respective um, variable a. Now we should understand like how it actually works, because sometimes we see in JavaScript libraries it works in a bit different pattern. That's a very 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 minor case, but in general this is very interesting thing. For example, um, let me take this simple example. Let me take this. Let a is equal to something known as 1. Let b is equal to something known as 2. I'll say let c is equal to 3 minus of a is equal to b. Sorry, it's not plus. A is equal to b plus 1. Sorry, a is equal to b plus 1. Now, if I say console.log a, and if I say console.log of b, sorry, console.of of a, not b, but let's take the values of c, because in this expression we are using assignment operators in two ways. So what would be this output? So if you calculate this thing, and another important thing is we have this operator known as parenthesis. I forgot to teach you, which is nothing but, let me take a step back for this thing. We have this thing known as an operator known as braces. These are known as parentheses. So these operators have high precedence, high precedence. I mean, very high precedence. It would be around 15 or 16, the precedence value of this parenthesis, and used to have exclusivity, exclusivity for a operation, which it would be. I'll be simply saying this thing like this. Uh, it has this thing. Let's say let's take the same example. Let's copy this same example, or let me say take the same example. Let me copy it. So yeah. Now in this given particular thing, let's say if I have parentheses separately like this. Let me do this one thing. Parentheses separately like this. Then it would be different case. First, this will be executed. But what if 50, not 5, 50? What if we have parentheses like this? Then here, as first, this thing will be executed, because as if you can clearly observe. So let's try it out this example. Let's see how this entire thing actually happens. Or else let's try it out this one thing and check, because first this will be happening, then division will be happening, then this will be happening. So this is how this entire things will be issued for us, right? This entire thing will be issued for us, like entire thing will be executed in this first format altogether. Now coming back to the same example, let's go to the big example and let's try it out the same values. So that's how this thing would be. Give me a minute. I'm getting some kind of a call. Just give me a minute. Right. Now let's solve this given particular example. As we have seen, this parenthesis has highest priority, precedence value altogether. That's what we have understood. Now let's try to see what would be the value. Let's try to debug this one thing. So in this thing, let's write this thing. So c is equal to 3 minus, and we have a parenthesis, and it is mentioned as a is equal to b plus 1. So the execution will be first precedence will be given as the highest priority. Sorry, no, the precedence of this parenthesis is actually high. So first this will be executed. So where in turn, what happens is 3 minus, here we have this a is equal to b. B value is 2. We have this thing known as 1. And it would be in turn it would be taken as 3 minus a is equal to something known as the value of 3. Not minus 3. A is equal to value of 3. So as this assignment, where this 3 will be written inside the variable known as a. Initially, a is storing the value of 1 in this given particular code. But whenever we have this thing, a will be now storing the value of 3. A will be now storing the value of 3, right? So now output of this thing would be 3 minus 3 would be the value of 0. So now C stores the value of 0. C stores the value of respective thing value is known as 0. So let me do this one thing. Let me run the code. Let me run the code and I can clearly see inside A, due to this assignment thing, we have stored the value of something known as 3. But here inside the value of C, we did all of this thing and we can clearly see the C is storing the number as 0. This is how the assignment operator will be actually working. And there is this another thing known as a chaining assignment. Uh, I'll simply mention it like this. Chaining assignment, where let's say we can say let A comma B comma C. I can declare as many as variables using this comma. Okay, not A comma B comma C. Let's name it as something like D comma E comma F. Let's say we have declared three variables D, E, F. And if I can simply say D is equal to E is equal to F is equal to 2. So let me give some kind of spaces between all of these things. Yes. This is what meant by chaining assignment. This is what meant by chaining assignment. Now, what is meant by chaining assignment? Here, the execution will be right to left. Or if you can clearly observe, this assignment operator, its associativity. Let me write it. Associativity. Associativity will be from right to left. Right to left. Which in turn means whatever value that is present on the right will be, so the execution will be in this format. So whatever the things that are present in the right, so the execution happens from this side, not from left to right, from right to left. In general, as we have seen in this above example, this above example, execution happens from left to right. But whenever you have assignment operator, execution happens from right to left. First, this one will be created, this data point will be created and will be stored inside the variable known as A. So execution is right to left, not from left to right. So here also first the assignment will be happening from to the variable known as F. To the variable known as F. So first 2 will be written into the variable known as F. So this, let me write it like this. Sorry. So I'll say D is equal to E is equal to F is equal to 2. Now initially we'll be having something like this 2 will be written inside the statement known as F. So it would be turning around D is equal to E is equal to F. Now as this 2 is storing inside F, here now F is now will be stored. Whatever data that is present in the inside the F variable will also be present inside the E variable. I repeat, data that is present inside the F variable will be stored inside E variable also. So right to left, now D is equal to E. If you can clearly observe, the right hand variables, the right hand side part is being congested in all of these things. Now it is of D. So 2 is written into F first, then whatever data that is present inside F will be written into the E. Then whatever data that is present inside the E will be written into the variable known as D. And finally, we are left with D. So this is the execution order that exactly happens. Now, even if you say console.log F, we have this console.log, something known as E. We have this something known as console.log D. Let's run the code. Now you can see 2's. So this assignment operators associativity specifically is from right to left, not from the left to right. A regular thing altogether. Now, if we have something like this, 2 plus of 2. Now, in this case, first the addition will be happening because if you see the precedence table, additive operator has highest precedence than assignment operator. So, compared to this equal to, this plus has high precedence. That's why first this will be happening. So, first this would be considered as 4. Then this 4 will be stored in F. Then this entire chain actually happens. If you rerun the code, you'll see, observe the same things. You'll observe the same things. These are interview bit things. They might try to confuse you a lot, but this is how this entire thing is going to be. Now let me comment it. Similarly, we have this one thing. Fine. Let's have this thing known as modify in place. Modify in place. Modify in place. What is meant by respective thing known as modify in place? Let's say we have this something known as n is equal to 2. Let's say if I want to add n5, n plus 5, n plus 4, I can do this thing. If I want to multiply n with something known as 3, now if I say console.log of n, so we have defined or we have stored a value 2 inside a variable known as n. Here we have added 4 to the n. Here we have multiplied the value of 4 to the n. So always remember, when you are having equal to, execute the right hand side and come to the left hand side. So here in this case, first what I'll be doing is n is equal to, here in the on the right hand side we have something known as an expression, n is equal to n plus 4. So in place of n I can replace 2 plus 4. So by the end of this line, n will be actually equal to the value of 6. Same thing here, n is equal to, previous in the 162 line the n value is 6, so replace this n value here in the expression. It would be 6 into 3, so it would be 6 3s are 18. Now let me rerun the code. Now you'll see the output is 18 because we're consolidating the value of n. Now one very important thing we need to clearly understand is, in these two expressions, on left hand side, on the right hand side, both on left hand side and right hand side, we have the same variable repeated. Here left hand side we have n, on right hand side we have n. Left hand side we have n, right hand side we have n. So instead of repeating the same variable on left hand side and the right hand side of a assignment operator, of an equal to operator, why can't we have some kind of why can't we have some kind of a shorthand notation? So instead of writing like this, what if I write, let me comment this thing. What if I write n plus equal to 4? This is what meant by modifying in place. So whatever we have written in the above, where we have the variables repeating on both left and right hand side of a equal to operator, instead of doing that, mention the variable once, mention the operation that you want to do, and equal to, and give the value on the right hand side. Give the value on the right hand side. This is what meant by modifying in the place. The same thing I can do here also. Instead of repeating the values, I'll simply say n. In the right hand side, I need to perform multiplication operation. So I'll say multiplied equals to, I need to do with the value of 3. So these, what are things that I have did in the above, the shorthand notations would be looking like this. Would be looking like this. Would be looking like this. So this is what meant by modifying in place. You'll still see the output is same. You'll still see, even if I reran the code after changing these things, you still see these things. So modify in place, where we have the basic syntax to be variable, and you need to have something known as operator that you want to perform. So here in the above, in this given particular n is equal to n plus 4, I am performing addition. So the operator that I need to have is equal to. Then I need to have assignment operator, which is known as equal to, and I need to have the value with which I need to modify. You can clearly see the same syntax is being implemented here. The variable in the above thing, we have n is equal to n plus 4. The variable specifically is n, so I have mentioned n. The operator that I'll be using in this expression, plus. That's why I have mentioned plus. And I have equal to next. Then I have mentioned equal to. Then I have the value. Here the value is 4. That's what we have written. That's what we have done. This is what meant by modifying in same place. So, yep. Now coming back to this thing, let me comment. Fine. Let's take this and thing into this format. Let me do this one thing. Yeah. Let me write or understand and implement this one single last thing for this video, because this video is already 1 hour video. Let's do type conversion 1 and type conversion part 2, two videos altogether. Yeah. Let's say this one thing. So we have this thing known as an increment and decrement. What is meant by increment and decrement? For example, let's say we have this variable known as z is equal to something known as 3. Now if I say z is equal to z plus, z equal to z plus 1, or let's use this above operator, modify in place. Let's say z plus 1 of this. If I do this thing, this is completely fine. So we are trying to increment the z value by 1. So we'll say z is equal to z plus 1. Whatever we are doing above, we are doing the same thing in the below, modifying in the same place instead of using repeating the respective variable in two places. But we have even shorter notation than this. This is even we have shorter notation. This is modify in place, modify in place. Instead of that, let me do this one thing. This is raw text, raw usage. This is raw usage, and the below one is modify in place, implementing this thing. Now, here we want the z to be incremented by plus 1. So what I can do is I'll simply write z plus plus, z plus plus. So this is what meant by increment. So this increase the value of z by 1. Z plus plus, which is something what initially z is having the value of 3. So when we have this z plus plus, it will be considered as z plus plus. So it would be 4. So by end of this execution, we have the value as 4. So if I write this console.log of z, you'll see the values of 4. The values of 4. Similarly, if I do the same thing, z minus minus, which is nothing but here, this z minus minus is actually known as decrement, where this decreases the value of z by 1. If I console log z after this decrement part, I have two console logs, where in the first console log, I'll mention it like this. Let me mention it. Increment. And we also have something known as decrement. Right. Now let's see how the values actually being. After increment, after this increment, let's see what is the z value. After decrement, what is this? Let's see what is the z value. Okay. And you'll see initially the z value is 3. After this increment happens, the z value is actually known as 4. So in console log, we can use both strings, comma, we can use these variables. That's completely fine. That's completely fine. That's what I have did here. Similarly, after decrement, I'm console logging it. After increment, the value is 4. So in this 170 by 176 line, we have the z value as 4. Now in 177 line, we are actually decrementing the value. In the decrementing the value, 4 minus 1. That's why in 178 value, or by the end of this given particular 177 line number, we have the z value will be 3. That's what we are console logging in last line. That's why you have decrement value and increment value. This is what meant by increment and decrement altogether. But there is a small thing that I need to tell, which is known as post increment, pre increment, post decrement, pre decrement. Let me take a few examples of it. Let me do this one thing. I think there is this given example. What is this example? So let me take post and pre increment. Let's take this post and pre increment thing, because even if you understand post and pre increments, the same thing will be applied for decrement. Decrement, see, increment is adding plus 1. Decrementing is adding, sorry, subtracting minus 1. Incrementing, adding plus 1. Decrement, subtracting minus 1. Subtracting 1. Simple thing. I'll say let counter is equal to something known as 1. I'll say let s is equal to something known as counter plus plus. Now console.log, I'll simply mention the value as s. So let's run the code. Let's comment all of these things. Comment unnecessary console logs. Now let's focus on this, understanding this thing, post increment. So let's rerun the code. Wait a minute, console log. This thing is fine. This is, let's write two examples. Post increment. Let's have pre increment. Let's have both of these things. Let's forget what is the result of this thing. We'll come to both of them. Let's say let counter, okay, counter 0 is having the value of 1. Let p is actually having plus plus counter 0, and yeah, console.log p counter 0. So we have two variables in two different cases. Let's see what is meant by post increment and pre increment. In the first example, if you can clearly observe under the post increment, we have a simple variable and we have created another variable where in this new variable named as s, we want to do this thing. We want to store this value, counter plus plus. The same thing here, we have created a new variable known as counter 0 and we have created a new variable known as p where the counter 0 value is 1. But here, if you can clearly observe, this plus plus is added to the prefix value, to the prefix value of the variable. So in post increment, we add plus plus to post fix of variable. In pre increment, we add plus plus to the prefix of variable. So post fix is after variable, prefix is before variable. You can clearly see post fix in post increment, we have variable, after variable we have added plus plus. In pre increment, or we have added this plus plus and then we have variable. So to understand this pre increment, we have variable, but before variable we have plus plus. Before variable we have plus plus. Similarly, in post we have variable, after variable we have plus plus. After variable we have plus plus. So this is the difference between post increment and pre increment, but the working would be different. So if you can clearly observe, let me rerun the code. Now comes to this interesting point. The output here is 1, but the output for this console log is actually 2. So in the post increment, clearly observe, first this variable or the data that is present in the variable will be written inside this respective new variable s. Let me rewrite this thing. In post increment or decrement, first the variable will be stored and then operation will be happening, which is nothing but, if you can clearly observe this 186th line specifically, we have let s is equal to counter plus plus. So whenever JavaScript see this counter variable, because initially JavaScript will, the execution will be from left to right. So when it goes to 186 line, after seeing let, it will create a variable named as s and equal to, and then we have this one very important thing known as a counter. So this counter or the data that is present inside this counter variable will be stored inside the variable s first. That's the first thing that will be happening. After this storage actually happening, then this data that is present inside the counter variable will be incremented. This is how the execution will be happening. But in the prefix, let me write it the comment here itself. In prefix or in pre-increment or decrement, first addition or subtraction will be happening. Subtraction will be happening and then will be stored. So here, if you can clearly observe, in 193 line, first the variable will be created. After that, we have this right to left, because assignment operator will act from right to left execution. So what it does is, in the right hand side, first we have plus plus. So it checks, okay, I need to add +1 to which variable? We have a variable named as counter 0. So whatever data that is present inside the counter 0 will be added with plus, and that result will be stored inside this new variable known as p. That's why you can clearly see here in pre-increment, we have this respective one value is being incremented, which is nothing but 1 plus 1 is actually being done, and then is stored inside p variable. But here in the post, as we have this plus assignment operator is right to left. First, in the right hand side, it sees counter, a variable. So whatever data that is present inside that variable will be stored first. Then it will be incremented. Then counter data, the data that is present inside the counter will be incremented. That's why you'll see the S is storing the value of 1. But if you can clearly see, if I add something known as console.log counter, you can clearly see counter value has been implemented. Let me write this in a bit format. Right. Let me write this. Right. So if I rerun the code, right. So here in this line, as first counter is the variable that it appeared for the JavaScript interpreter. So whatever data that is present inside this variable will be added or will be written into this new variable, and then the data that is present in the counter variable will be increased by the value of 1. That's how this thing. That's why you can clearly see the S value is having the value of 1, but the counter value is having the value of 2, which is nothing but initially the counter variable is having 1. But after this increment part is done, after this entire line is executed, S will be storing the value of this counter, which is 1. Once that operation is done, then plus plus will be added to the counter variable. That's why counter value has been incremented. But in the pre, it would be the different case. It would be the different case altogether. So the same thing, if you use plus plus, it would be increment. If you use minus minus, it is decrement. It is decrement. So here we are doing post decrement. Here we are doing post increment. The logic is same. The working is same. So in the post decrement, first whatever data that is present inside the variable will be stored into a new variable, and this minus minus will be happening in this counter variable. That's the standard thing. Here also the same thing. Initially decrement will happen. Because we have minus minus first. Then we have variable name. So decrement will happen. Then we have this decrement will happen for this counter variable value and will be stored inside p variable. This is how this entire thing actually works. So initially, while understanding this respective variables, specifically the post and prefix, you do require some kind of a practice. Don't worry, we'll be providing some reference materials, and we'll be providing some additional practice questions, so that after practicing you'll get a clarity on these things. So that's it for this given particular thing. Thank you all, and we'll see you in the next session.